Hello and welcome back. So today I thought we would play a bit of Pocket Hex, which is a tiny game that you can find on itch.io, and it is by Lancraft. So yeah, it's a fairly simple little game. It is exactly what it says on the box, quote unquote, right? It is a tiny little hex crawl, essentially. It does come with a keyed map by default, but you could kind of run this in any map that you wanted to. The default map here is quite a bit of fun. Normally you would print this on the back of the base mod, right, where we've got all of our rules, and then you would just unfold this, and it would be on the back of here, right? Now that's not how I chose to do it. I wanted to have this separate from this, but you could always print it on this, and then you have everything that you need kind of all at once. This is a very simple game. It's designed to kind of be tossed in a little box, right? Something that you can travel with, right? A pencil case would easily fit this. And it comes with these three little pocket mods. This is print and play, as you can tell, right? I butchered the corners on this one. I was just seeing what types of paper and what kind of default printing settings and so forth would work for me. This is kind of a cardier stock, which I don't like. I would definitely recommend thinner paper. But yeah, so it has three pocket mods, which are just, as you kind of saw, right? It's a single piece of paper that you fold into a booklet, right? And then you've got your little pocket mod. So this is the keyed locations, and that corresponds to numbers like up here, number 8. And it'll give us all kinds of cool details about that. And this is sort of a base generation booklet, and it is for getting some additional details on some of these other map icons, right? Like the mountains or the forests or so forth, or cemeteries, and etc., etc. The base mod here is our default rules. So this is where we get the rules for crafting our character and how the game is kind of generally played. Now I will tell you, I'm going to be somewhat loose with these rules. It is designed to be somewhat loose, but for my guy, for example, right, he is, you are supposed to, quote unquote, supposed to have a weapon to start with. Now, I didn't choose a weapon. You're supposed to pick 3 things, right? So I don't know if you can see this or not. I picked marbles, some playing cards, and a backpack. I could have probably rolled on the tables when you get to that part of character creation. It is unnumbered, but it's pretty easy to pick. You also choose a weapon if you want to. I read this because it says choose 3 items. I read this as being, a weapon or a piece of armor or a cloak or things from here. That might be an incorrect interpretation of the rules, and if it is, hopefully Lancraft will correct me. But my take on it was that from here down, we can have 3 things, right? And then I assume that we'll get chances to do other things as we go. The other neat part of this game is that it comes with a time pool. So the default is to represent this, right, as a bunch of D6s. And you start them at 6, and then each time your character enters a new hex, right, you would tick 1 down, right? Tick it to 5 or whatever. And then when it when you've ticked out all of your D6 die, then your story ends, or a new story begins, or you restart or whatever. It's, you know, kind of up to your choosing how you decide to handle the end of the game. But it suggests using D6s. I didn't really want to do that, so I picked a lowest number of days, right? So in here, it suggests that you, where is it? A recommended time pool is short, which is 8d6, right? So I chose 48 days as a result, and we will try and play through our guy's entire quest in this 48 days. Now, one thing that I actually forgot to bring to my table was a mini for our dude. Let me pause and I'll go grab one. Alright, we'll use this guy as a mini. I bought him years ago when I was first re-picking up D&D. So we'll use him. It's not perfect. Of course, he kind of overlaps our hexes because these aren't 1-inch hexes, obviously. But it'll give us an idea where he is. Or maybe we'll use something else. I haven't decided. Either way, we have some representation of who we are. So with all of that said, I think whoops, bumped my table. I think what I will talk about is I'll give you kind of a quick rundown of how creating a character works here, right? So you typically begin with a character name, your hit points, your HP is 10, your inventory size, I think is what that's called. Yeah, inventory size or something, is 8, so I can hold 8 pieces of inventory. And then we distribute 3 points between strength, dexterity, and intelligence. So I picked strength of 0, dex of 1, and int of 2. And that kind of gives us our entire character, right? Once we've done that, we pick a weapon and then pick a trinket or whatever. I did a quick read through of a few of the generation items and a few of the key locations. It doesn't feel like there's going to be a lot of combat in this particular game, which I'm fine with, right? And the combat that there is kind of abstracted, right? So this gives us an example. I don't know if you can read that. I'll pull it up closer. This gives us an example of combat in this game if we decide to participate in such. You would pick a difficulty score, how hard the combat is, and then you would roll 2d6 and add whatever your strength, dex, or int, whatever applicable modifier is, you would add that to your dice roll. And it's a very simple, anything over the difficulty score is taken off of their HP, right? So it kind of says here, if you roll 2d6 and you get 9, and then you add 2 from your brute class score, which I assume they're talking about strength, and 1 from your sword and 1 from your shield, and then you get 13. So the cement worm takes 1 total damage, right? And so it drops their health to 11, right? And then that kind of goes back and forth. Now, some of that is implied, right? There's nothing in this that tells us that a weapon gives a particular bonus value or damage value at all, right? There's no real healing potions per se on every 7th day, you get to spend some time healing, basically. And you just regain whatever from your 10 up, right? So it is designed to be a very simple, toss it in your bag, hex crawl that you can take anywhere you want. You can play it, when you're traveling or whatever. And I think it does that. It's very low barrier for getting started, and it's very light on the rules. You can kind of interpret it however you want. You could take rules for combat from any other solo gaming system, right? If you prefer Ironsworn, or I don't know, if you really like Errant or White Box or something, go ahead and grab those and pull them in. This is a base, right? Like, this is as simple as it can be on purpose. And I think that allows you to pull in kind of anything that you want. With all of that out of the way, I'm going to tell you how I'm going to use this. So I like to have some kind of an idea of how I want to approach a hex crawl before I sit down and do it. Most of the time. There are times where I just want to hex crawl and see what happens. But in this case, because this comes with a keyed map, right? I wanted a story that I could leverage this map and this these various pocket mods for. And so what I decided, I've got a D&D game that I run with some friends, and so I've created my own world for that. I've got other blog posts and so forth about that, but I've created my world, and one of the characters in that is, we're gonna say this guy. Does that want to focus on him? Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's gonna be a story from the point of view of Manifester Zenor of the Wandering Slumber. So the Wandering Slumber in my world is sort of a dream cult, dream religion, and the Wandering Slumber is their god. Manifester Zenor is a something like a warlock or a mage or a sorcerer that is tied to that organization. And what I've decided is that this realm, as it exists, is part of sort of a dream realm that he's exploring. The reason that I've done this is actually because if you look at the keyed locations, right? If we take a look at like this location here, this is 3 tiles, right? It is Manor of Fact, right? Lord Regalius Fact has manifested himself a luxurious life, one of both wealth and family that have come and gone. Outside, the manor presents nicely, but inside is shambles. The Lord remains along with only a few hired help. The Lord is becoming delusional in his age. Despite that, he is certain he has seen odd and terrifying happenings in his home. His help are of no help in this regard. A confidant is sorely missing from his side. And then it gives some happenings where like doors lead to rooms not of the manor and stuff like that. You have the Foe's Lighthouse, which is 2 brothers that have been at odds, and they're kind of, they're leaning towers. You have Hole of Shooting Eyes, which just blasts eyes up into the sky. So it's a very whimsical, fun, kind of tongue-in-cheek setting by default, which to me made me think of, dream sequences and so forth in some other games, and I thought, since I have a dream cult, I would take this guy and have him explore these lands looking for something in the real world that is existing as an echo within this dream realm. So I wrote out a bunch of plans, which basically just comes down to the idea that the Manifester Zenor is here and he's looking for a clue as to find some magical MacGuffin, right? It doesn't actually matter what he's looking for, but he's looking for a location, a name, or background understanding, extra information about this magical item. And so what we're going to do is, as we reach certain points, as we generate things in Pocket Hex, if I just feel like this might be something that could perhaps be tied to Zener's quest, what we're going to do is we're going to roll a d6, and if we get a 6, it will be relevant to his quest, and we'll kind of interpret that in some way. And if we don't get a 6, then it's not. The plan is to travel through for 48 days and either succeed and find some hint for a real world, quote unquote, real world location for his magical MacGuffin, or fail, right? And that's fine. If he fails, he'll just leave the Dreamlands and he'll take another avenue to search for this thing. Each hex is a day, right? So we essentially are going to be able to travel through 48 hexes, and then that's going to be it. We can start wherever we want on this map. That's part of the base rules. And I think that's kind of it for setup, right? Being as Manifestor Zenor is a dream cultist, he's been through a lot of this stuff before. This probably isn't his first time in a dream realm, but probably this is his first time in this dream realm. That's my take on it anyway. And so one other thing that I have chosen to do differently than the rules necessarily suggest is that I'm going to say, because he's a wizard or sorcerer or whatever, he's some sort of mage, I'm going to say that the marbles are essentially his weapon. And so he's got a bag of marbles that when he throws a marble, it will turn into some sort of spell, whether that's a fireball or a fog cloud or whatever. It will be magic marbles, right? Little magic spheres of glass that when he throws them will do something. I haven't specifically chosen a number of marbles that he has. I don't think it's going to come up too much, but if it feels like we're leaning on that too much, then I'll get rid of the marbles. The playing cards, I feel like, are maybe not so much like a standard deck of playing cards, but something like a tarot or something. I don't have a good feel for what those are just yet. And backpack is just so that we can, I guess, carry more junk, right? So your inventory score by default is 8. I'm going to say with the backpack on us, anything that is small is not going to take up a slot. Or maybe I'll just give myself 4 extra slots or something. I'm not 100% sure. We'll kind of deal with that as we get to it. For right now, what we need to do is we need to pick a hex to start on. So it looks like this is 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by 12? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, 6 by 12. So what we could do is we could roll to see where we are, right? So the black dice will be the row that we are on, and then the combination of these dice will be how far in we are. Because I don't want to just pick a random place. I would like to roll a random place. I don't know. That feels slightly better, I guess. All right, so third row, which would be here. Oh, you know what? I guess I should have done 12 because then otherwise I'm skipping. It doesn't matter. We're going to go with third. So third and then 10 in, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we start in these mountains. Yeah, okay. So I can see that I'm probably not going to like having the mini actually on the map. That's fine. That's fine. We're just going to leave him off to the side. And let's just see. You know what? Move that. And what we'll do... Sorry, is we'll just take a green pen and mark the hexes he goes through. That makes sense, right? Right? Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. So, this is hex 1. And so we're in some mountains. So I'm going to say that Manifestor Xenor, he's in the real world, right? Like he's in his real world, and he has just completed a ritual to bring him into a dream realm that might have some sort of answers as to the location of the thing that he's searching for. And so as part of his ritual, he's sort of fixing this object and his questions in his mind, right? Like he's looking for a location, specifically a name, any kind of name that will help him find a location or find who last had it or anything like that, right? An important name affixed to the item that he doesn't already know. Or he's looking for additional understanding about how this got lost, what it was maybe used for, like how to use it properly, or anything like that, any kind of additional understanding for finding or using or replicating this magic item. And so he completes the ritual and he sort of opens his eyes and he's standing on a he's sort of standing on an icy mountain peak, right? Not quite at the summit, but he's up on this mountain, kind of calf deep in snow. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna, I guess, do a quick roll on the handy dandy pocket mod here to see what kind of stuff we immediately see in the mountains. So city, forest, seaside lighthouse, right? So down here is most of the seaside lighthouse stuff. Hill and cliff, cemetery, and then wildlife. So this is going to be hill and cliff generation, which counts as mountain as well. So these are all D10s. I think I've got a D10 somewhere here, right? There's a D10, yeah. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to see, I guess we've kind of established that he's up on a mountain, but we haven't picked the type. So let's just take a quick look. 3, it's too steep to venture. So he's maybe on like one of the very, very few safe places on this mountain, which is going to make getting down interesting, to say the least. So that will be a hurdle. So that's okay. That's okay. We're going to just jot that down. So we'll go 1, mountains, too steep to venture. Okay, I'm jotting this down really quick and messy, so this is not as good as my handwriting usually is, but don't judge me, I guess is what I'm saying. Okay, so we found that it's too steep to venture. We're already on it, so let's take a look at the flourish and see if there's anything else that is on here that we need to worry about. Giant mushroom plateaus, so maybe that's what we're standing on. Giant mushroom. Plateaus. Okay. Okay, cool. And let's take a look at the addendum. I think. Marmalade Lion Den. So, like I said, whimsical and fun. Komodo Inch Guana. Marking lines in the path. Den of Miscreants, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so being as this is too steep to venture, I'm going to roll on this and then I'm going to decide if we're actually going to use it or not. We might just throw away this result. And that's okay. This is a solo game. We can do whatever we want. Hibernating Fallendorf Eagles. Okay, hibernating eagles. Fallendorf. What is a Fallendorf? So are these Gandalfian eagles, right? Like, can I ride this? That's my question, first of all. Can I ride an eagle down? Or can I kind of jump from mushroom to mushroom? So Xenor is, of course, a mage. I'm going to say that once you're here, right, once we are in an area, the physics of that land are in effect, right? I don't think that there's anything particularly weird about the physics here unless it comes up in the Pocket mod, or if it is like weather related, like maybe there's weird weather or something. But generally, up is up, down is down, gravity exists, etc., etc. Right? So he is currently standing on, I guess, a giant mushroom, the top of a giant mushroom. And he's looking down the side of this mountain and kind of like looking around. And everywhere that he looks is, extremely, extremely steep. And there's, kind of shale, right, all down the sides of this mountain. And the footing is steep and treacherous. And then where there isn't shale, there's these giant mushrooms that are kind of popping up all over the mountain, at least up at this height, which is maybe they end as they get further down the mountain. Maybe for whatever reason these mushrooms thrive in the colder part of a mountain, right? So as it gets lower, it becomes just a steep shale cliff. And he needs to get down. We need to get off this mountain. So what we could do, right, is we could leverage these playing cards. We could leverage a marble. So let's actually grab our pencil here and say that this is a standard deck of playing cards. The only reason I'm saying that is because I don't know how many tarot cards is in a tarot deck, but I do know how many playing cards is in a playing deck. So we'll say that there are 52 cards, right? So there are 52 cards, and we have used we're going to use one. And as for marbles, let's do, what do we want to do? Let's do two. Let's roll a d10 and a d100, right? d100, d10. Sorry, 100's d10. This is not a d1 or d100. I'm incorrect. This is tens, right? And singles. Tens and ones. And let's just take a look. So we have 62 marbles. 62 marbles, and we're going to use one. And what we're going to do is we are going to use a marble on a playing card to turn it into, I don't know if it's going to be like a hoverboard marble based playing card thing, or if it's going to be a sort of like a snowboard. That doesn't help us when we get to the shale, really. But I mean, I guess if it's really, really steep, what we could also do is have the playing card turn into a parachute. But no, I like the idea of him like, sort of skateboarding, hoverboarding down the mountain more. So I think that's what we're gonna do as far as getting off the mountain. Is we're going to basically hoverboard off the mountain. And now let's see which hex we go into. So of course, around each hex, because it's a hex, is 6 different places. So we could use a dice to see which direction we're initially heading in. Because Xenor, while we can see this map, I'm going to say that my dude has not been here before. He doesn't know where he's going, right? He's kind of going by gut as to what direction kind of pulls him towards his quest goal. So let's take a dice, we'll roll it, and we'll go for 3. So we're going to always say that this one is 1. So 1, 2, 3, which takes us into more mountains. All right. So we'll just add a 2 there. And let's take a look. We're going to roll on the cliffs again and see. I don't think we take any damage or anything like that coming down. I think we do it successfully, right? Like this is magic based. I guess we could roll that and see. Right, there's the difficulty classes and so forth. I'm not going to. In this case, I don't want to put him at extra danger this early in the story. He's gonna just hover playing card down the shale mountain of giant mushrooms. So, and then what we're gonna find is more mountains of slippery loose rocks. Okay, so I'm gonna say that unless a flourish shows up or an addendum shows up that makes this interesting. So flourish of 1, moseying moss like ants. That's really cool. That's a cool picture. That's neat in my head. And 6, a society of hunters. So we've got slippery loose rocks, so it's not quite too steep to venture anymore in the second hex, right? We've come to a place where it has more climbable terrain, right? Like it's not quite just shale and gravel and so forth, but is able to be traversed just with difficulty. And we've come across a bunch of moseying moss, right? So some sort of like living moss, and a group of hunters, right? A society of hunters. So society of hunters and moseying moss, is the moss the hunter, right? Is that seems reasonable, right? Right? It doesn't say that these are humanoids, and we don't have to take it as being humanoids. So we could have come across, as we're hoverboarding down, right? Hoverboarding down this mountain into this area, kind of at the base of these hills, right? Like I'm gonna guess we're on the border of out, right? And so I would say that at kind of at the base here, we've got this moss that is kind of like, oh, there's like those disgusting worms that you can find that they feed fish. I forget what they're called, but you can find them all clumped up together, sort of like that. So like it's like a living moss musculature almost, and it's kind of creeping and going. So we're gonna get rid of the lichens part, but and it is hunting. It is hunting for something like us maybe. So do we avoid that, right? And as typical with solo mods, right, we do have an oracle to give us, yes, no complication. And maybe this is a good time to roll on that and just see, like, do we get to avoid having to deal with the strange hunting moss. And so what we'll do is we'll take our handy dandy d20 and we'll just see. Let's find out. So 10 is a complication. Okay, so on a complication, there's nothing particular that is baked into the rules of if a complication happens, you do this. So we're just going to kind of figure it out. So I feel like maybe what happens is I was going to say that we were going to come out in one of these hexes, right? But maybe in our hurry to get away from this moss, right, which I would assume that he knows it's a hunting style of moss because, like, there's a, strange, like, jackalope, right? Which kind of fits the vibe of this, right? So this strange, like, horned rabbit that is, scurrying through, and the moss kind of surrounds it, engulfs it, and very quickly, starts busting into this poor creature. And so Manifester Zenor is immediately like, no, okay, I'm not messing around with this moss. I got to get out of here. And so rather than roll a d4 for one of the hexes that we would be desirable, I assume, right? Because that just takes us into, like, kind of flat, neutral planes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to roll a full d6 to see if we accidentally backtrack, if we go up into more mountains, etc., etc. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And let's just see what we get. 3. Okay, so we do get to leave, right? So 1, 2, 3. So 2 had our hunter moss loose rock mountain. And okay, so now we've broken through, we've come away from the mountain. This has been these are technically full days, right? So I guess I should kind of backtrack a little bit and say that as we're coming down the first mountain, right, we do stop. We find a place that is adequate to camp, maybe on one of the last remaining giant mushrooms, before it turns into just like shale and meets up with these smaller mountains that are these smaller mountainous hills that are, slippery, loose rocks, but aren't these gigantic mountains. And so we camp out that first night on a giant mushroom. And it's uneventful. We kind of just, like, I don't think we eat the mushroom. Just putting that out there. Mushrooms are dangerous. So we're not gonna eat the mushroom that we've found in a dreamland. And then the next day we spend most of it trying to just get out of the mountains, right? So I'm gonna guess that kind of we're already in this third hex when we decide to sleep, right? Because it takes us a full day of just getting out, right? For by the rules, right? For the procedure for how a day is broken down, you would meet an NPC or anything else, move freely, do a luck check or a foible check, have any kind of action, a foible, and then move to your hex. That will get to kind of as it makes sense to do so. Actually, I probably should have, I could have rolled on the foible chart to see what kind of complication that we had. I'm not going to backtrack there. We'll remember that for next time. Yeah, so, okay, so we've found really nothing so far, right? And I'm not going to make any kind of D6 checks towards Manifestor Xenor's goals until such time as we find something interesting. So if he kind of comes down the mountain, we get into this plains hex. Let's see, I wonder if if there's any wildlife in this plains area, because there isn't a generation for plains, right? So let's ask the Oracle if there is any kind of wildlife here. And if there is wildlife, then we'll roll on the wildlife. We'll roll on the wildlife generator. If there's not, then perfect. And if it's a complication, then we'll say that this moss has kept track with us, right? So let's take a look. So that's a 1. So 1 was no. It was no and. I'm going to ignore the and, I think. I can't think of a compelling and for that. So we don't see much of anything in particular on this hex. Plains, empty. Right? What I am going to say is that, like, he kind of gets down and it's, knee-high grass, give or take, right? So he's wandering through this, through these plains. There's a few, scrub kind of type bushes and, small trees, small copses of trees that he can see. And he's kind of like scanning the horizon. And I am going to say that as he's doing so, he sees whatever is in this hex. Also, though, we should establish that the edge of the hex, I feel like, loops around, right? So there isn't like blackness out this way. If we were to step this way, we would come out here. And that way, this all makes a little bit of sense as to how to keep going if we decide to step off the map, is that we just come to the other side. But I will say that he has seen this, and so as we are looking for clues, as we are a relatively competent magic user, I'm going to say he's not shying away from that, and he spends most of the day just, wading through this kind of knee-high grass, which is, it looks like untouched, right? Like, I'm going to guess that at some point in the day, he kind of sees some maybe deer-like animals, right, or elk-like animals maybe, that it's kind of bounding through this tall grass, but no hints of predators or anything like that. And so far his journey has been quite peaceful, with the exception of killer moss. And then we're going to choose to come into this hex. So we'll put down 4. So this is going to be our first roll on the city gen table. Now, I ripped this because I was going to see if I could do it without scissors. You can. I would fold it more if you're gonna clean up the outsides, right? Because otherwise it's gonna have a little overhang like this one does, right? So if you want to rip that off, fold it better than I did, but it's not a big deal. There's 10 items. We can still see that there are full words here, so we're not going to worry about it too much. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to check on the city gen, and we're going to find out what kind of location this number 4 is, right? 10, a city. I was looking at forest and I was like, saplings only, that doesn't make sense. A city. Population 57. Is there... Okay, yeah, so a city with population. Okay, city. Okay. 57 pop. And we're going to look at the flourish, and then we'll go with the addendum as well. Flourish will be the ones with zeros, and addendum will be not with zeros. So 10 simple farmers, and 2 execution. Okay, well that's fun. Simple farmers. And they're enjoying an execution. Okay, so this, the art for this is pretty cool. I'll pull this up just so you can see it better, just in case. Right, so this is the location that we're coming to, and it's this weird twisting tree kind of like thing, or maybe mushroom. Is it maybe a mushroom? That does look like root-like or maybe fungal. So could this be, are they humans? Is the primary question going through my mind right now. Probably not, right? There's this weird Cyclops in a chair thing over here, which could be a city of Cyclopses. I don't remember exactly what that key location is. Let's take a quick look, because maybe that will inform us. Cyclopsamid is a multi-story cyclopsamid. Inside is a megapolis of silent cyclopses. They are at work processing the bile gemstones that the slime angles produce. Slime angles are way down here. If you have any, give them to the workers and they'll be pleased. Okay, so this is a gigantic city of Cyclopses inside a Cyclops-shaped monument. Cool. And they're processing bile. They're processing bile gems. I would say that these guys then maybe are something like the Myconids in D&D, right? They're fungus people, right? And so the processed bile gems could be something along the lines of that, what do you call it? That stuff that they use for perfume that comes from like whales or whatever, and it looks kind of like a rock, but it's just like spit or gut stuff or whatever it is. It's some sort of biological thing, and it's kind of rock-like, and they use it for perfume. I don't know what it's called. Maybe I'll look it up afterwards. I'm not going to do it right now. But maybe they purchase, or trade for these gems with the Cyclopses, and use that to produce some sort of, perfume-like substance maybe, or maybe it's something that helps them with reproduction, right? Because like they're mushroom people, we've established, and maybe it helps them spread their spores or get spores in to get spores to sort of germinate. I don't know what mushrooms do. Mushroom people, and they use cyclopsamid products. Yeah, And so we're coming down, and everybody is kind of standing around doing an execution. So is this one of their own people, or is this somebody else? I don't know. It might be interesting to see how mushroom people would execute one of their own. And so I'm gonna say that Manifestor Zenor, comes from the plains, and he gets closer and closer, and then these are simple farmers, right? So as he gets closer to this strange root-like city, he comes across a series of like small fields, and they are growing something in them. These are mushrooms, so maybe it's something like, well, I guess what kind of, they probably have a balanced diet ish, right? Because fungus can deal with plant and animal matter. So I'm gonna say that they're actually farming other types of non-sentient fungus, as well as like tending to maybe like these gigantic piles of fallen wood, maybe purposely felled wood that they're using to kind of rot, right? Like they're keeping them rotting at a consistent manner, and that's part of the farms that he's coming across. And as he gets closer into town, somewhat timidly, right, because he's not sure if these guys are going to be hostile or not, but the folk of this place are, I would say, fairly used to dealing with other types of creature, and so there's not much, as he walks in, for open hostility in any way. Do they speak with mouths, or are we going to lean on D&D and say that they're telepathic? I like the idea that they do, in fact, speak with mouths. I don't think that they necessarily have lungs per se, right? So, like, I don't think it's going to be a voice box that works like ours does. But I would say that they have some sort of similar facial features to us, right? Where they've got eyes, nose, mouth, ear holes, whatever. And I would say that they kind of greet the ones that he first comes across as he enters the city, kind of greet him as though he were perhaps a wandering merchant, right? Because he's got this backpack on his shoulder, and he's coming from the plains, and they of course know that there's other stuff up here. Maybe there's something else in this sort of city, town, whatever this area, whatever this is. Maybe there's something that they trade with there too, as well as with the Cyclopses. So they see him coming down from the north, and they assume that he must be a wandering trader from up this way, and they greet him as such, right? Welcome to Mushopolis. I don't know, and he sees a couple of tiny mushroom children that are running excitedly towards the this gathering of people, mushroom people, and as he comes and joins them, he quickly sees that this looks to be a not quite medieval style execution, but like there's an official looking fungal person, and he's standing kind of on a podium, of he's standing on a podium, and there's a prisoner, right? It is going to be another fungal person, I think. There's a prisoner, and then in front of that there is maybe a pit with some of the hungry moss, the hunter moss. Maybe they use that in for something here. And so there's this pit with the hunter moss that is in front of this sort of raised platform. And there's a bunch of people crowded around it. And they're kind of in the process of proclaiming that, you know, for their crimes of thievery, maybe they stole from the Cyclopses, and that puts these people in a tenuous position. So maybe he's been, or he or she or they've been caught for stealing from the Cyclopses, and the punishment is that they're going to get kicked into this pit of hunter moss. And Xenor comes up kind of just in time to watch this happen. Now, he's no slouch. He's not here for this. He's not interested in saving anybody. He's here to find clues as to his MacGuffin. And so he kind of just hangs back, and he sees this execution proceeding. You know, they tell him that, or they tell, I keep saying him, and I think I have established that that this person, this fungal person, is not of a gender that Xenor knows. But they tell them that they do have the ability to maybe donate a piece of themselves to continue the fungal line, right? And they the criminal kind of spits and is dismissive of that, and they're like, well, fine then, and boot him into the pit of hunter moss, and that very quickly, you know, latches onto him and devours him, you know, very quickly. And then as it devours them, let's say that the hunter moss feasting on the fungal man, you know, sends up a burst of fragrant spores, kind of, that I don't think they're harmful to our human, but they are, you know, multicolored and, you know, shoot up into the air in this multicolored sort of process. And that is how we enter this city. We're kind of I'm going to say we're at the gates of the city proper at this point. You know, just having been just outside it, where the predominant, where predominantly it's farmland. We're at the gates of this kind of twisting, weird fungal root city, and we are being welcomed inside. Right, there's a couple of the fungal people kind of clap us on the back and are like, well, you made it just in time, kind of thing, and why don't you come in? We've got plenty to trade and plenty of information, and you know, we'd like to hear about your travels, kind of thing, because they assume that we are from somewhere in here. So I think that's going to be where we stop for today, is just as we are entering the Mushroom Kingdom, Mushopolis, whatever. We'll think of a proper name for it in between episodes. And yeah, so after this, as we investigate this city area, what we might do is we might make our first roll to see if we find any information about our MacGuffin. I think as we come to various locations, right, it doesn't hurt to make a d6 roll to see if we get anything. We're not going to do that right now, though. This is a game and a rule set, a pocket mod rule set that I think I will continue to come back to until we get through Manifestor Xenor's story and we find a hint as to where in his real world he will find the item that he's looking for. So far, I will say I really enjoy this. I like the map. I like the art style. I like that these are very simple single page printouts that you just fold into these cool little pocket mods. I like the whimsical nature of the built-in setting. It is simple. It's straightforward. Yeah, I really like this. I like that days kind of correspond to the hexes that we're going through. I'm going to say that if we spend too much time investigating this city, we'll count it as 2 days, right? Because we'll say that we've done a bunch of investigation, slept, and then done more. But, you know, so far, we've used up 4 of our 48 days. That's not bad. We've seen some really cool hunter moss. We've met some mushroom people that executed a criminal. And, yeah, I mean, this is a really cool little game. I'm really enjoying this, and I'm looking forward to finishing up the rest of Manifestor Xenor's story using this, because I think that it's really free, it's really open, it's really easy to pick up and play. I will say that the one thing that I knew that I would be missing in this is that there's no pocket mod for making NPCs. I had looked and seen that earlier before I started recording. So I did, like, I printed off a bunch of random NPCs. I've got an NPC generator that I made myself for D&D. And so I was like, I know I'm going to need names. So I printed off a couple of sheets of just names and personality traits, as well as like some items and stuff, which doesn't really matter to us here, but I thought might be interesting. So that is one thing that it does not come with. If you, like me, are not good at coming up with names off the top of your head, you might want to consider grabbing Xanathar's Guide to Monsters, right? I think that's the one that everybody props up as being good for names. Print out a bunch of names from, I think Donjon might have a name generator. I'm sorry, I don't have good recommendations because I use the one that I made. So there's plenty of them online, though. If you're not good at making up names for NPCs, grab something to shore that up. If it has something like personality traits or motivations, that's probably going to help you as well. But it's not necessary, right? So the big thing is get a bunch of names, keep them with you, add it as a folded up sheet in your Pocket Mod rule set, and I think that'll go a long way for you. Other than that, though, I don't think that this really lacks anything. I would have definitely liked an NPC generation, but it's not necessary, and you can get names from pretty much anywhere. So yeah, overall, I'm really pleased with this first test. This is the first time I've tried this at all. I had made up my character sheet in anticipation for this because I didn't think that would be interesting to do on camera. And I had kind of thought up what we would be striving towards off camera, because I didn't think that would be too interesting either. But so far, this is really fun. This has been really good. I am looking forward to getting to more of these locations and being able to roll on these pocket mods and seeing what kind of story naturally unfolds. Which is part of the reason as well that I have not chosen what kind of MacGuffin our Manifestor Xenor is looking for. I feel like something might emerge from our random rolls in the Pocket Hex, and if it doesn't, then what I'll do is I'll just pull a random card from the Griffin Saddlebag and see what happens, right? These are fun cards. If you have something like this, you can use that. If you don't, make it up. There's also other games that you can look at for making items. I'll cover some of those later, but yeah, that's all sort of beside the point. Good game, a lot of fun. We will be back with this for sure to finish off this guy's story. It'll probably take, I'm going to guess, at least 3 more plays. So if you want to see anything in particular, if you think that if you think we should do something special, let me know in the comments. I am definitely up for trying to shove your ideas into this fella's narrative here in this Dreamland, because I think that would be fun. So give me any suggestions you might have, and as always, until next time, happy gaming.